Now, the funeral plans for senior royals, including the Queen herself, are already mapped out. And yesterday, those plans, alongside the arrangements for Prince Charles' funeral, were published by the Politico website. Now, the plans cover everything from the basis of speeches to when and how flags are to be lowered. The Cabinet Office has begun the process to launch a formal inquiry into how the plans were leaked. Currently, Buckingham Palace has declined to comment. Now, I have rehearsed such events prior to the event. I have seen great big ring file documents that have all of those details. So pretty well has everybody else in this industry. But there is a consensus that they remain where they are. So why this has happened yet again is literally beyond me. To look at that and the ramifications of the leak is our royal commentator, Phil Dampier. I said to the producer, Phil, that I mean, in effect, this is, and pardon my French, willy waving.
You put me off with your rude language there, Alastair. Yeah, hi, good afternoon to you. I've been a journalist for 44 years, and I've been reporting on the royals for 35 years. And I'm all in favour of people breaking stories. But as you said earlier on, everyone in Fleet Street, as we used to call it, has had these details for many years. And in fact, the story was actually broken by The Guardian in 2017. They went into great detail. And a couple of days later, it was actually followed up by the Mail on Sunday. They went into great detail. So I think it must have been a slow royal news day yesterday for all the papers to pick up on this and some of them to splash on it. But as you say, it's not something that we would normally like to think about, the Queen's death. That's a bit like our own deaths, I suppose.
Yeah, sure.
But these details, as you say, have been known and rehearsed for years. I mean, I remember one senior policeman telling me that the biggest fear that they had during the 2012 Olympics in London was that the Queen might die, and all sorts of chaos that would have resulted from that. So it's something they've prepared for, but it's kept quiet.
Sure. I mean, in a sense, I agree with you that we, the general public, don't want to talk about it because, you know, as we've seen not that long ago with Prince Philip, there is a genuine national sadness, and the monarchists outnumber the Republicans by quite a margin. But on the other hand, those same people would want to see the sad event when it comes done properly. Do you think that this kind of leaking and nonsense jeopardises the precise planning that is done between journalists, where cameras are put, where reporters get access and so on and so forth, between the palace and between the Cabinet Office? Because basically our industry is saying you can't trust us anymore.
Well, I think they're looking at this all the time. It's constantly being reviewed, especially with the pandemic in the last couple of years. They've had to tweak some of the arrangements because obviously if something had happened during the pandemic, and that's part of the reason that Prince Philip was airlifted, if you like, taken by helicopter from Sandringham, where he was living. He was living on Wood Farm there, a cottage there that he quite enjoyed living. And that's why he was put in lockdown with the Queen in case something happened. And of course, he spent the next 7 months there. And that was one of the ironies, that they actually spent a lot of time together towards the end. But they're forever tweaking these things and getting them ready. And the actual details themselves, I must admit, are quite fascinating. I mean, to me, the one thing that struck me when I first read them was the sheer sort of brutal nature of it, the cut-off from it. Even before the Queen's funeral, Prince Charles is travelling around the country proclaiming himself as king, going to all four parts of the country, going to Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and this is before the funeral. So it's very much, you know, the Queen is dead, long live the King, which is quite shocking when you read it in black and white.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. All right, Phil, good of you to find time for us again. Always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Phil Dampier, royal correspondent and commentator.